So you love podcasts, and you want to listen to more amazing content, but you have no idea what to listen to. And your friends keep telling you about great episodes, yet you can never remember what they told you. Well, here's the answer. Good Pods. It's the social app dedicated to podcasts where your friends, podcast listeners, and favorite podcast hosts all come together to share on their feeds what they recommend and what they listen to. You can connect to others, bookmark episodes, start a conversation about the episode, connect to the hosts, and most importantly, listen to great podcasts right in the Good Pods app. Download Good Pods wherever you get your apps and start sharing with a community that loves to listen. Good Pods. It's where to connect and listen.
So, Joy, have you ever been to a Turkish prison? Do you like gladiator movies? By the way, is there anyone listening who knows how to fly a plane? Well, looks like I picked the wrong day to give up Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. That and sniffing glue. Not that there's a difference.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a macroeconomist educating people about honest money and the benefits of a sound financial system. He is widely recognized across the space, specifically in the precious metals industry, and consults for hedge funds, high net worth investors, mining companies, depositories, and bullion dealers. He's the publisher of the Morgan Report, a world-class publication designed to build and secure wealth. He is the author of the Silver Manifesto and a featured speaker at investment conferences worldwide. Thrive Loud listeners, I proudly bring you David Morgan. David, how are you today?
Hello, I'm quite well, and thanks for having me.
Very excited to get kind of to the ore of the matter instead of the core of the matter. Figured I would be punny this morning. You've been in this space for a while, and there's lots of things going on because you not only speak from the old traditional, metal space, but you also are focused on a lot of the new types of ways of money that's going out there. And we are in a very interesting time in the midst of the COVID-19 virus in the US and worldwide, and an election coming up that's justifying things. So let's catch up with you and talk about the hot topics that you're speaking about right now and what people want to hear from your side of the coin. That's my second ridiculous pun within this, David. So with that, can I pass it off to you before I embarrass myself anymore?
Oh, no, let's go. Well, I think the big picture, of course, is the monetary system itself. And I'll just start with the base that, I've been interested in money since I was 11 years old, and the silver coinage changed to what I call the Johnson slugs. Never dreamt at that point in my life I'd be doing what I'm doing now, but I'm very passionate about it. The main thing is that money transcends everything, religion, national origin, everything else. Everyone is concerned about their money because that's how we basically survive on the planet. So now we're in a position where the whole system is being challenged, and we're looking at what the next system will look like, and we're in that transition phase. So that's what I've been writing about in the last few months in the Morgan Report and on interviews. What we're looking at is basically this COVID reset, and it's been called a reset by the World Economic Forum. I spent a whole issue in the Morgan Report looking at the big picture, taking what they've printed, what they've said, and kind of digesting it for, let's say, our readers, our premium members, into what they're really saying and really doing. So these banks never lose. I shouldn't say never, but seldom lose. There's a lot on the new currencies or the new monetary units, such as the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin in particular, that believe that they are an adjunct to the system at large, and it's anonymous. It's a distributed ledger that you are basically moving away from the banking system.
Right.
And perhaps in certain instances, that's a true statement. However, as I conjectured in the last report a couple months ago, I think that the banking elite at large that are morphing into this new system of digital currency. And by the way, everybody, most of you know this, but a digital currency is not a cryptocurrency.
Right.
And when they morph that system, you will probably have your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your other ones, but you will not, in my view, this is my speculation, be able to get a mortgage, get a utility, get your cell phone bill or anything else unless you're using the Fed coin or equivalent. I call it the Fed con because of my my adherence to an honest financial system in my life's work. And as the idealist that I am, I'm going to go in my grave fighting for an honest monetary platform for everybody on the planet. That's how idealistic I am.
Dave, let me jump in here because I think it's important. We want the layperson to hear something real important right now. Let's go to the point that you addressed here. During this pandemic virus we're in, this has gotten even more attention. Why is that? What is going on right now? Is it because of all the financial backing and debt that the U.S. government has pushed into the world, or is it because we are working more digitally and virtually that this has kind of raised its game so much more? What's happened most recently that's brought so much attention to this?
Well, Lou, this is my interesting point of view. My take is that the system was failing. I mean, I've been doing a weekly perspective that's free. It's my solo podcast I do every week. I look at all the financial markets, I report on them, and then I usually add something about the precious metals at the end of that. I've been showing in the mainstream, the Reuters, the Bloomberg, saying that we are in a monetary, or we're in a global contraction well before the COVID. My idea is that the COVID was a marker that hides the fact that the system was failing and we're moving to this new system. I think that's at least part of it. So I think that's it. And then it's the retraining, as you suggested, or at least how I heard you. Give me some feedback, Lou. But the suggestion that I heard you ask is, look, everyone's going to be driving less. That saves, carbon footprint. Everyone works from home. You're going to get used to more regimen to what the powers that be have us do, say, and think. And that's definitely the direction they're moving. And to put the big, picture on it, I don't want to spin it in my own direction. I'm obviously biased and for like the people at large, and I'm for honesty through the system. We don't have that. Yeah. And this reset, I think, is more control, not less. Look, if I had one thing I could choose above everything else, above honest money, it'd be freedom.
Dave, this is interesting. I'm remembering a conversation I had. This is late March, early April. And as you know, I live in the New York area, and I have some really close friends that through life. And one of them happened to have worked their whole career on Wall Street. And we were joking through a whole big text exchange. And this one particular friend of mine was literally like, go buy gold, go buy, some of the real assets, as we were watching financial markets just bounce and go all over this place. And I always joke about that. That's always been a trend that I got to experience working on the street and seeing, when things went bad, people went to metals. In this topsy-turvy thing, before people were going to toilet paper, literally, can you give a little bit of a play of what's been happening through COVID for the precious metals? Because I actually think it's one of the better stories, ups and downs, from where you see it. And you have a good seed about this. And I think our listeners might appreciate just the flux, the flexibility, and all the changes going on in that space, because I thought it was fascinating.
Wow, powerful question. So I've been at this, more or less for 40 years. I've been on the internet as a publisher for about 22. And in March, right after this thing hit in a big way, I was getting calls that I've gotten very few. And the calls went like this. Hello, David. I've got $1 million in the bank. I've never bought gold before. Who do I buy it from? Where do I store it? Who do I trust? Yeah. I'm like, well, how do you know me? Well, I listen to you on the internet. Well, that doesn't mean you can. No, I just got a gut feeling. You're real. You've been there a long time. I'm paying you this consulting fee. Tell me. Well, one off is like one off, Lou, but I had like 4 like that. And it was $1 million and up. And these are people with large, good businesses, whatever, and these people knew the story, but had not taken the action yet. And once that 19er thing appeared, they wanted to take action, and they took it in, let's say, substantial ways. Yeah. So that was a big change.
As we look forward to what's going on here in the world, and we did this back in the spring of 19, we did a FinTech week. And in that FinTech week, we actually had a ton of cryptocurrency folks, digital security folks talk about their different products and all the different areas within that. It's a difficult way to look at this industry and the trends that are happening, because I do agree with you that the old system and merging with the new, these two worlds coming together where one might be failing and one is up and coming, it's hard to pick the ones that are, the right thing, because so many new currencies have been popping out. When you look at currencies and you're looking for that trust factor, not only those individuals calling you to trust you for your decisions, you're looking for those traditional institutions that put the backing and the trust behind it. And that's really where that value comes from. How do you evaluate these newer currencies that are coming to market as it relates to how people can know whether that's the right one to trust?
Yeah, that's a very tough one. I'll give you my thoughts. First of all, I'd like to make a broader base on that. I was asked, quite some time ago, what did I think about Bitcoin? It's still on the web. If you just Google my 2 bits about Bitcoin, David Morgan, I wouldn't change a word in that missive. So you can start there. I am biased, Lou, because I am associated with a precious metals-backed cryptocurrency. It's called LODE. The URL is AG, the symbol for silver, ag.lode, LODE.one. You can go to ag.lode.one and you can look at the videos. I think that that's the best trust. I mean, I'm old school, obviously, gray hair and everything that goes with it. But the best security is really physical metal. Now, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to overload. And we just talked about with these people with, $1 million in the bank, what do I do? Well, you take 10% of that and you put it in the gold, or 20 at the most. So it's not like, everything you ever saved, put in gold. That is not a bright move. However, this transition, however, in the worst case scenario, when you've got a physical element that's recognized as money globally for 5,000 years, you're in a pretty good place if something goes wrong, even if the communication system goes wrong, awry for a while. Mm-hmm. But the next step up is obviously what we do every day. It's a digital currency, or it's a platform that uses the banking system, the SWIFT method. And if you can integrate that with metals, I think that's the best of both worlds. And so I am associated with love. There's several others that you can investigate. And this is going to be pervasive. My view, studied view, is that the globalists want everybody to be banked. What does banked mean? Banked means that they're associated with a bank in some way, shape, or form. If you just go to Indonesia, I think it's like 60 or 70% of the 30-year-olds are unbanked. What does that mean? It means they don't have a bank account, but they transact. This is, I think, the direction that the financial system is going to move. You're going to be identified one way or another: retina scan, DNA, fingerprint, some combination thereof, maybe your cell phone. I don't know, but you're going to be identified, and you're going to be in the system where you're going to be able to do these digital transactions. And I'm pretty certain about what I just said, how it all unfolds, what the pushback will be, how many freedoms will you not have or will you enjoy? Is it all privileges based on your social credit score? All those things remain to be determined.
I like it. And thank you for sharing this. I think it's great. I think our listeners are totally getting an education just from this, and we'll get everyone down the road to how we can learn more about all this content in the plug section. But I've got a good question for you. And that is, we had a conversation with someone way back when who gave us the walkthrough of cryptocurrency and how they actually, how they transact each and every day. And this particular person was pretty new in the way they handle their currencies and how they subscribe to it. How do you personally handle and transact in this world? Like, you have certain amounts of your assets invested in certain ways, but you personally, as you transact, are you taking some steps? Because like you said, you're a grayer haired guy, maybe more involved in traditional ways of paying for things. Are you taking some steps to try newer ways of doing things to kind of like dip your foot in it personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I gave a speech at the Silver Summit years ago here in Spokane. And I mentioned that the state of Utah had signed into legislation for the state that anyone, anywhere, at any time could transact in gold and silver as long as both parties agreed. And I said, that's wonderful. It's really already set in the Constitution. But regardless, and I was there, by the way, when the government signed it, along with a lot of people. I was actually invited by some friends when we signed that law. And I said, this is wonderful, but it's really not doable. The only way this will be doable is if you have a debit card that is backed by metals. And then you can transact that. So when you go to Walmart or wherever, a grocery store, a gas station, you just debit your card and the metals are taken out by the depository, and the bank is basically not, so it's the same transaction to the merchant. Well, I gave that speech, and this now good friend of mine named Dale came pounding up, and he goes, "This is my life's dream, blah, 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 blah." I said, "Well, yeah, we could talk. Let's get off the stage." I mean, he's that excited. And so he started a metals-backed debit card, which I have one of the first ones. I've been using it for years. So that's step one. That's about as simple as it gets. So if I go to the gas station, I put in a normal debit card and I fill up with gas, I just tell Dale that, debit my silver account. Or what's the beauty of it that I like, because the metals have been down for a long time, they're coming back, was you did it like a regular debit card. So I had a silver side, a gold side, and a cash side. So if my cost on silver was, let's say, 28, it's not, but for an example, and silver's at 18, I really don't want to debit my silver out. So I just debited the cash side. But I've still got that silver in there. So when silver goes from 18 to 28, I might want to go ahead and debit the silver out. All the bookkeeping's done for you. You got the base of 18 as an example. You debit it out at 28. It comes in a monthly statement, and you get an annual statement, so you know what the gain was. All of that stuff's taken care of.
Excellent. And by the way, phenomenal explanation of all of this. And I think what you hit really there is the component of liquidity, right? I mean, that's what everyone's looking for, is the ability to access this stuff, because some of the newer currencies are not as liquid. In fact, very expensive to even pull your money out. But even you using it in regular everyday purchases is a great way to understand how you can utilize that. Thank you for that. Very cool.
If I could interject, Luke, one of the main concerns I get, especially from, let's say, the 50 and up crowd, is, David, I believe you, and I really want to buy some precious metal, but how do I sell it?
Right.
And the answer is, you could spend it. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly it. Like, you're actually showing that you can utilize that. Just people have to think of it. It's an interesting piece, because for so long people have isolated their investment dollars into certain ways and figure out how to move it into other investment pieces versus using it for your everyday transactions. So not it's all the same pot. It just is where you're slicing and dicing it. I guess it's really cool. But I like that thinking of how to do it that way. I've got a good question though for you, and this is something interesting, because you're helping senior leaders, hedge funds, other investors with advice, and that's some of the component that you do. You are blogging and podcasting, so you're communicating your thoughts on the markets, obviously writing books as well. And obviously you're also probably dipping your foot in transacting in the market each and every day in the markets that you are familiar with. Which do you like doing best? What's the camp that you're of late that you like to actually play the most in? What's that sandbox of choice these days?
Well, my specialty is actually the equity side. I really enjoy analyzing stocks, not as much as I used to. I actually have a staff, and I have kind of delegated that for the most part. But the royalty companies were absolutely the place to be. And like a lot of the ones that we have as basically our permanent positions or in the model portfolio, our senior stocks, 6 out of 6 were up last year. The average, if you took equal investment in all of them, last year, you're up 68%. And these are conservative stocks. These are billion-dollar mining companies or royalty companies. And then on top of that, you can write covered calls on these. So when those kind of volatilities, we have a high beta, and I'm not trying to talk over everyone's head. I know you have a Wall Street background, but the most volatile stocks, there's just a Greek letter called beta. It means they move up and down a lot.
Yep.
And those have higher premiums when you go in the options market. Again, I'm not trying to talk over anyone's head. It's just that you can yield 20-25% annually on those type of stocks pretty easily. So I do like timing the market, especially when I'm right. I've caught every top so far, and my bottom calls have been pretty miserable. But at least I admit it. So the long term, I think I'm right. The markets are proving, that metals is something that you should have some, but not, your life savings goes in the metal. And I unfortunately see that happen from time to time. I'll get a call or an email like, gosh, I listen to you and I listen to so-and-so and such and such. And you know what? Gold's the only place to be. Are you kidding? Look out your window and look at the world and look at the opportunities that are out there. And it's not a static investment. The only reason you really want to be in the metals at this time is the system's failing. Most of the time, you want that entrepreneurial attitude of what can I bring to the market that serves me and serves others, and we both get happy.
Love it. Let's make you part of the whole program here. You've been listening to a bunch of the episodes. We chatted before we went on air. And I love asking this question to the guests, and that is, look, we have days where we're kicking on all cylinders, and we have other days where we're maybe a little off our game. David, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek or individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Usually it's exercise. I'm a big rebounder guy. I only do it about 10 minutes a day. And I used to make fun of the people that got on these mini trampolines until I did the research. I find it really exercises your cells, helps your joints. I have some joint issues, not bad, but I'm older. And so that's one way I do it. The other thing is quiet time. So I'll put both. I do the mental part, which is just like take those deep breaths, get alone, be quiet, calm, and just be, one with it all, if you want that metaphor.
Yep.
And then jumping up and down like some 6-year-old kid and saying, hey, there's some joy here somewhere. Keep jumping up and down till you find it.
I got to see Tony Robbins a couple times in my life. And in one instance, I actually saw him do his trampoline workout, bouncing right before he actually went on to perform. And it was the first time I'd ever seen it. There's nothing quite like looking at a guy that's 6'8" bouncing on a trampoline. It's quite interesting. But I totally get it. I've done it a couple of times. I don't know if I have a space inside to do it, but I'll take a look at it. Let's do the admin part of the show here, David. Do me a favor, share with the listeners all the places people can find you. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement from you. Socials, websites, any promotions going on, anything you'd like. This is the chance for you to do that.
Well, the best is the main landing page. It's themorganreport.com. Get the word the in there. It's all one word. And at the top, it's a pretty simple website. We've learned to keep it simple. The link to Facebook, the link to LinkedIn, the link to Twitter, and the link to our YouTube channels are all above the members login right at the upper right-hand side. So you can click those. All that stuff obviously is for free. On the books, there's actually 3 books. Only 2 are really available. There's the book tab. You just pull that down. You can get the Silver Manifesto, which we no longer have on Amazon. There's a long story. I won't give it to you, but we do have it published and we send it out ourselves.
Great.
And then Second Chance, which is written by David and myself, David Smith, that works for me, about how to make and keep big money. A lot of people do round trips, Lou, and being from Wall Street, there's people that buy a $5 stock, watch it go up to $26.92 and watch it come all the way back to $5 and they still own it.
Right.
Never do that. Don't do that.
I'm a sell half kind of guy. Like once you get to the half of value, I've doubled the money, I hold on, and then I just forget about it. Yes, but totally with you.
Yeah, excellent. Pre-trade, we teach that. It's perfect. So that's it. I also do consultations. So I'd say that's it. Just go to the main landing page, and then there is a newsletter. It's not the report. The newsletter is free. Sign up. Any podcast that I do, any interview that I do, any missives that I do that are public domain, you get that for free. And also occasionally I'll give you insights into maybe a discount or a promotion from, let's say, a coin dealer that I know and trust, or maybe a movie that I think is worth watching or whatever. So there's that. And for those out there in the PR world, there's an About tab. It has like a media kit and a little story about yours truly, plus a movie that I was in called The Four Horsemen, that anyone that is kind of concerned about where we are and where we're going, it's free. It's an hour and a half long, and it's not about me. Believe me, there are a lot smarter people in that movie than I am, but I was just grateful that they asked me to be in it. But it talks about where we're at and what the solutions are.
Spectacular. Permission to go down Fun Street with you here. I've got a question which is going to bring this back to the business side. I'm going to save for the very end, but I'm going to get through the fun stuff with you. All right. So Fun Street, allowed to go down this line of questioning with you, sir?
Let's do it. I'm nervous and I never get nervous.
Okay. Listeners need to know he literally could not come up with his favorite movie. I'm assuming it's not The Four Horsemen. So what is your favorite movie of all time?
Braveheart, no doubt.
Okay. What connects the most with you about that movie?
About freedom, that it is actually something that's that vital and that important to the human experience that people are willing to die for it. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's where my head and heart are. So I'm going to say it.
I like it. I think my producers are very excited because they get to incorporate a very good movie quote at the end of this episode, which everyone will listen to. All right. So here comes the speed round for you, David. I'm going to ask you a question. First thing that comes to your mind that makes you feel good, that lifts you up, that pumps you up in that way. So a song that connects with you or lifts you up that you like to listen to.
Love, Peace, and Happiness by the Chambers Brothers.
Very specific and right prepared for that. A favorite food that's not a dessert?
Tacos.
A favorite dessert?
Gluten-free brownie.
An activity you wish you did more of?
Just walk in the woods.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Oh, boy, that's wasting time. I do a little of that.
If you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, where are you?
Washington, D.C.
You might be the only one that gives the answer to that. And actually, that's perfect for the final wrap-up question I was going to ask with you. We're recording this mid-October, right before Election Day. This episode's actually coming out just before it. And I guess my question is, what's your thoughts on the markets as it relates to this world we're in here in the U.S. election? I'm not making you to make predictions either way, but just your feeling, because there's a lot of concern. The volatility has been bubbling up across markets because no one's exactly sure if we are even going to know on Election Day who our president remains or our new one is. So any take on how you're handling maybe, or what you're advising your investors as it relates to this time of year and these investments at this time?
Absolutely, Lou. So on the markets, here's my take. I think it's a great analogy for the American experience in present day, where we have put too much faith in materialism and the markets themselves. Everyone's worried, and rightfully so, about universal basic income not being laid off. What's the stock market doing? What's going to happen to their pension fund? And all those are absolutely valid concerns. But I think we've been off track, we meaning the world, but particularly the United States, which is pretty much the leader in a lot of areas, that we've gotten away from value. And what I mean by that is, what is real value and what is true wealth? And I think we've lost the experience of what really matters the most. And this transition that we're making, as hard as it is important to readjust or recalibrate, or the overused word reset, what really is of value. Had a recent death in the family here. And every time that happens to me personally, I kind of reevaluate. Well, is that amount of money the most important thing? Is it the fact that I just got the new truck, which I don't, and I revalue the value system. So I think we need this adjustment. So my take on the markets is, there's way too much emphasis put on the American consciousness about money, when we really should be talking about value. And value is different than money in a lot of ways.
David, I wish I could vote for you in the polls this year. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's hopefully a trend that maybe we'll start to see people appreciate more as we get to those times. And I think we'll point people to the Morgan Report so they can check it out. And I'm sure you'll be right on top of this as these decisions are taking place, and this window of time hits us and we absorb it as it comes in. But David, thank you so much for coming on the program today. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been fun for me, Lou. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace, and dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.